Welcome to Let's Get Spiritual. I'm your host, Annie, and I'm here with my bestie, Ashley, and we'd love for you to join us as we discuss all aspects of spirituality and wellness. So sit back, take a breath, and let's get spiritual. Welcome back. It's Annie and Ashley.
Hey, guys.
I hope you're all doing well.
Yes.
I'm sure you're excited for this.
I'm excited about this episode. Last week, you were all talking about your crystals, and this week, we're talking about tarot.
Yes, it's tarot
so
time.
Excited.
It's tarot time. I'm really excited about this because I feel like it's really coming back into like the mainstream. Mm-hmm. It's always been around as a method to like connect with source, spirit, and to like practice divination.
It was even kind of just a game back in the day.
Yeah. And a lot of people turn to tarot for guidance, especially in like difficult and unclear times. That's really what it's there for. It helps give an interpretation of what the current energies are that's present in our lives at that time. And it gives us clarity and direction, and it helps with like some self-discovery and transformation, I think.
Most definitely.
What's not okay to me is a lot of the stigma behind it, of it being like evil and like really like demonic.
It's like the devil's work. Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah. I'm not saying one way is right, one way is wrong. I think in anything in life, it's always about the intention that you have behind it. I was just
thinking that. It's like you took it out of my head. It's really about intention.
Because the same thing has been said about crystals.
Yeah.
And again, it's the intention. I can have a pen and I can do very ill-intended things with a pen, or I can do very positive things with my pen.
It's so funny you say that because I oftentimes joke about how I would throw crystals at people and how
you can use a crystal to throw at someone, or you can use it to help yourself.
That's how I would help people. I would just throw rocks at them.
So let's get rid of these stigmas and just know that when people are working with tarot, more often than not, we're here to get guidance, clarification, and to connect with ourselves and with spirit directly. Like, I feel like it's a way to connect.
It's a way to communicate. It's a way to kind of tap into those energies that we all have access to at all times, but sometimes you just need a tool to kind of hone in on that energy and kind of make it make sense.
Yeah, it helps us connect to ourselves more, and it reveals information that's hidden and stuff that's already present with that inside of us. And it like strengthens that connection to the divine. And then these messages are like from the divine. Exactly. I mean, again, it's just present energy from source, and it helps us stay connected to our creator, and it helps keep us on that path that honors our creator and the guidance of our spirits and everything like that. So, again, like even with astrology, like all these things are tools, they're maps, they're guides. They're not the creator itself. They're like a translator of the energy of the creator.
There's a lot of times when I've done readings for people, because I've done readings for friends, for strangers, for anybody that wants one. I'm always open to do it for them.
Yeah.
But there's so many times where in my interpretation of the cards, the people have been like, oh, I know. You do know. That's the problem.
That's why it's current energy.
But for some reason, you need a stranger and cards to confirm what you already feel inside of you.
It's messages from the divine. It really just is. And it's that reassurance, like, this is me confirming that you know what you know.
So
now it's
do
time
what you need to do. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to go over some of the basics about tarot. Okay. There are 78 cards in a tarot deck, and that's a combination of 22 major cards and 56 minor cards, and that consists of 4 different suits.
Yes.
So the major cards are also referred to major arcana, and arcana means hidden truth. So that's what the majors are, and that's what tarot reveals during readings. Really, is just the truth that's been kind of hidden or always there, but
you just weren't listening.
Yeah. So the major arcana will be numbered 0 through 21 or 1 through 22, and the order of the cards will be the same regardless of the pack that you use, with exception to the strength and justice cards. Sometimes they're interchangeable as the numbers 8 and 11, but other than that, the 1 is always the 1 and stuff like that, unless it's the 0 to 21 ratio. So all of the cards have specific meanings and symbolism. So here's some examples. The Fool card usually represents new beginnings, since it's the first card in the deck, and the Chariot card usually indicates change, or to like choose your own route to follow. The death card doesn't actually mean death. People, let's
everyone
put that out there
has
right
ever
there.
gotten that in a reading that I've done, and they're like, "Oh, I'm like, you're not gonna die. Do you think I'm gonna tell you you're dying?" No.
It just rather means that something needs to come to an end, or that a door needs to be closed before any other doors can open.
There needs to be a death of the old in order for the new to take root.
The Tower card's another one. It usually means that something is falling away, or it's happening to clear the stagnation that's happening in your life, or the restrictions or constraints you're under. So all of these cards have different meanings and symbolisms to them. And as stated, the minor cards have 4 suits. So these are the cups, the wands, the pentacles, and the swords. And each suit has its own meaning. And each of those are numbered 1 or ace through 10. And as well as there's court cards like page, the knight, and the queen and king. So each of the suits have their own meaning, and each of the numbers or courts have their own meaning. So the combination is what gives us more of the clarification of each of the cards, like specific meanings. So I have another example. So 4s are typically a caution card that represents the alternatives of taking a risk versus holding on to what you already have. And pentacles are related to security, stability, and organization. So when you get a card of 4 of pentacles, it could be like meaning to proceed with caution in areas, or like if areas in life that's related to your stability or security, or maybe it's time to take a chance on something that might lead to more security and stability, but it also might come at a cost, so be cautious. So like based on the number of the card and the suit of the card, there's different meanings to the cards.
And I was going to say that's one thing that I like about tarot too, is that and that's one of the things that also makes tarot one of those interesting like mediums for connecting with your intuition and with the universe. Is there are a lot of different meanings, like you said about 4s being cautious, but the 4 of wands is usually a sign of celebration.
Exactly, because the wands are like, they have their own meaning. So
and the number has its own meaning. So it's really interesting, and you definitely have to, when you're working with tarot, you do have to kind of, it's good to know the basics and kind of know what the cards mean, but it is a lot of interpretation. You kind of, how you tap into things.
Exactly.
It's kind of just how certain cards mean certain things to the reader. The person.
For sure. And I want to get into, there's this book. It's a little bit of tarot, and I've talked about this with the chakras, and I have one of these books for crystals and Reiki and auras, and I love the little bit of series. They're great. But in this book, it says it too, and they had a bunch of people pull some tarot cards, and they asked them, what do you think this card means? And more often than not, it actually matched up with the actual meaning. So we do have an intuition that we listen to, and that it already knows the information just based on the images and the energy we get from the card, based on the colors and the art of what's happening on there, the numbers. There's all of that. And our subconscious picks up on it, which is how we can relate our own interpretation to it too. But I definitely noticed that each tarot reader who practices as a practice like you do has their own way of reading the cards themselves, which makes it unique to their own. So whether you have someone read for you or you pull for yourself, just do what feels right. And that's what you feel like it means is ultimately what the card means for you, even if it isn't exactly what you read in like the book.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I do love about cards in general, is there's so many different, like we're talking about tarot cards. And when I think tarot cards, I think of the traditional Rider-Waite deck, which is like the deck that everybody has seen at some point. If you've ever looked into tarot or kind of just explored any kind of spiritual mediums and things like that. But there's also oracle cards. We both have the Moonology Oracle deck, where that's not really looking at an image and interpreting it. It's giving you a literal message. So there's so many different types of cards that you can use, and so many different types of designs and things like that.
There's so, like, there's Golden Girls.
I was going to bring my Golden Girls cards today.
There's like Nightmare Before Christmas decks. There's ones catered. There's like cat decks. There's like all kinds of tarot decks.
There's different art for different types of tarot decks, but usually those different types of art styles are still based off of the Rider-Waite deck, which is why I think it's very important, if you do want to get into tarot to become familiar with that deck.
Yeah,
because
before
once
you
you
branch
understand,
off.
once you understand what those cards mean, you can get those more like whimsical, fancier cards that, you know, have those different types of art styles and things like that, and still feel confident in knowing what you're reading because you still know what the base of that card means.
Yeah, for sure. And like you can, if you buy your own deck, you can either do card pools where you're just like ask a question or think about a question, like should I interview for this job kind of thing.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong when it comes to tarot.
Yeah, exactly. And you just pull your first card, or if something falls out, that's where you want to look for guidance. And, you know, all of this stuff isn't meant to be taken literally. It's all like a tool. Crystals are a tool. Tarot is a tool. These are all tools to help us and just build our tool belt to be able to really tackle life and be prepared and have everything that we need for whatever situation that we're in.
Exactly.
But again, you can do like the pools like that, or you can do tarot spreads. There's a variety of spreads.
There's so many different
There's
things
like a past, present, future spread. There's like a love spread. There's all different kinds. So,
and usually when you get tarot decks, there are little books usually that come with it. So I ended up purchasing a tiny, it's Rider-Waite, because again, this is the base. So I know if I have this, I can pretty much understand anything. But people were always asking me to do readings. I don't necessarily like using other people's cards because I do feel that you infuse energy into the cards when you use them. So I do tend to like to just use my own deck. And when you do that, again, when you get these different decks, you do get little books. I don't think you can kind of really see that. Light is kind of crappy. But usually in these little booklets, they give you different types of draws that you can do.
And there's like pretty clear instructions in there too.
And it also gives you the meanings of the cards. Again, you don't need to necessarily go exactly word for word by what is in the books, because you'll end up kind of just feeling what it's supposed to mean anyway.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a nice guide.
And I feel like sometimes people with astrology or tarot get too far into how it is and take it too literally. And that's where we need to practice our balance. And again, just look at all of this stuff as messages and guidance, not it has to be this way or that way.
It's not the end all be all of your life. Like, do not live your life by cards that you draw in tarot. I love tarot, and I'm telling you not to do this.
it's guidance. It's like, I really am torn on this, or I feel really foggy. I need some clarification on something, or I'm torn about this relationship. I need some guidance on which direction I should go with it.
And if you follow my page on Facebook, A Positive Place, I will do readings for people, not even people, just for like the page every once in a while. But I share a lot of stuff about tarot on there as well. And one of the pages that I follow, there were just some explanations of different things. Like if you have questions about a relationship, get your tarot deck, look for the sun card, and the card that comes before it is your answer. Like there's different like ways to use the cards to kind of get that guidance that we're saying that you can use it for. But again, don't make hardcore life decisions strictly based off of what cards you get. Please don't do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I feel like that's where a lot of that negative stigma comes from, is maybe people who take some stuff too literally.
Well, I was going to say, I think that there is, in doing any type of spiritual work, there is a fine line always of using these tools and this information in a positive way to help align your life maybe, or just like, get some clarity in life. But then there's also that side where you can kind of take it toxic and almost become like obsessed with things or take things too literal or
and that could be too much. It's all about balance. Dangerous, yes. Go back, listen to the episode if you haven't listened to it yet.
Please.
So, because Ashley's kind of like my resident tarot expert, we're going to do a little interview on her.
Okay.
So I know some of these answers, but for all of our listeners and viewers who've been watching you do a tarot reading at the end of this episode and all of our episodes, I just want to know what got you into it in the first place.
I think this is actually something that I might have mentioned in one of our first episodes in the basics. I just was really, really... I should start out with this. Hi, Aunt Nan, by the way, because I know you and Barbara are watching. I love you. My aunt was very much the catalyst kind of to all this stuff. She helped me be very open to things spiritually.
Yeah.
And I ended up being drawn to and Healing with the Angels Oracle deck card. Again, and nothing. It was not a Rider-Waite deck. It was not a tarot deck. It was an Oracle deck.
Yeah.
Where the cards give you a message.
Yeah.
And then, there's a book with
less
meaning,
interpreting, more direct.
Exactly. So that was kind of how I got started. I don't know. I just, and maybe it was kind of an obsession, but in a good way, I'd like to think. I just really started to see how using these cards, it really did help me get clarity in things, and it really helped other people. And that's, again, we kind of talked about this with you and crystals, and doing it with yourself, you're like, oh my God, like, am I crazy? Like, this is weird. Oh my God. But when you actually do use these tools to help other people,
it's amazing.
And you see them have the same reaction you had when you did it for yourself. You're like, okay. I just got the chills. Yeah. Like, there's something, I might be onto something. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think really just, getting into it myself and then seeing how it really affected other people in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
Was really what kind of got me into it.
Nice. My next question is, what type of deck do you use? You already said you recommend the Rider-Waite.
Yep, tarot deck. Again, it's just the basic. Like I said, people back in the day used to like use tarot cards when they would get together and have little kikis. They would just like be like, let's drink and use our tarot cards.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was like the deck that was the start of it. Yeah.
And I think it had a lot of the most prominent, beautiful art for the time too, which made it very attractive. Yeah. Do you have a favorite deck?
My heart will always say that Angel Oracle deck because original. That was my first.
Yeah.
I do love my Golden Girls deck because I love the Golden Girls, and I just love to see like them in the cards.
Like the cards are hilarious.
It's literally based off of the Rider deck. So like if you like the page here, I'd pick this up just as an example. Like it might be Sophia looking at a little wand. Like it's just so fun to see these characters worked into the cards.
Yeah. So how do you like to do your readings? Do you do more spreads? Do you do pulls? Is it a combo of both? Like for yourself?
For myself, I would say it is more of a spread. Even when I do readings for people, I'll ask, like, is there something you want me to focus on?
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of, I don't know, I shuffle the cards, and what comes out or where I feel like stopping is just kind of where I stop. And
I noticed that. There. I mean, even with our little tarot readings that we do, it's you let the deck decide
exactly
whether or not it's done.
Exactly.
You're just shuffling it.
I am the vessel. I just leave it up to the universe.
Yep.
So
awesome. And who do you read? Like what type of people? Like anyone?
Anybody. It doesn't matter.
And where can they get a reading from?
They can hit me up on Facebook. You can, I'm not going to say my last name on the podcast, but if you know me personally and follow me on Facebook, you can always just send me a message. Or I guess you'd see my last name anyway. If you follow me on A Positive Place on Facebook, you can, again, keep an eye out because I haven't done it as much.
Oh, you just did one. Let's talk about this for a second.
Oh, the one that I just did?
Yes.
I was having such a bad day that day that I just wanted to do it for other people because I was like, I just need to make myself feel better.
So Ashley, again, does these like group
random general
and
readings.
It's for everyone. Like just here's 3 cards. They're all face down, so you can't see what they are.
Yeah,
she numbers them or puts like an emoji with it. And it's like, whichever one calls to you, comment below, and then I'll give your interpretation later. This most recent one, I never look at the comments first. I don't want anything to influence
your decision.
My decision. Yeah. I like to just look, and wherever my mind or my eyes get pulled or my gut, I just go with that one. I kept going to 2, and I kept looking at it. I'll look away, I'll look back.
Yeah.
And I always test myself in the number 2, and then I go and I comment. Everyone commented.
I know. I almost didn't even feel like interpreting the other cards because I'm like, well, everybody picked the same one anyway. So
everyone, it was so crazy to me.
That's the first time that's ever happened.
I know. And like, I know all the women who commented, which I was like, this is so great because it was such a great card.
Yes. I was just going to say, I love doing that because you guys are all commenting. I'm like, I know exactly what the card is already. And this is so on brand for your life. Like I get so excited knowing what the answer is to those.
That's awesome. That one was really fun to do. Yeah. And I love when you do those in the group like that because I do think, again, your mind and your gut is going to draw you to the message that you need to hear.
And that's why I love doing that. Or again, I did say I don't really like people like touching my cards. I don't like touching other people's cards. But there is one friend who gives me a hard time whenever I do readings for her. The one time I literally, because again, she always gives me hard times.
Yeah.
She got the Tower and the Death card in
the
a
same
3-spread card. Like, she should have seen me trying to charm my way into explaining that to her. She's like,
You're
oh,
probably
great, my
sweating a
life's
little
falling
bit.
apart and I'm gonna die. And she has a medical condition. I was like, bitch, calm down.
Stop.
Like,
Don't talk like
please
this.
don't. That's not even what it means.
Aw.
So, but she was one that was fun because the one day she came over and she was looking at my Golden Girls deck. And I'm like, go ahead, just start pulling. And she was just randomly pulling cards. And I was explaining what the cards meant. And it was resonating with her to the point that she cried.
Wow.
So it's just, I love seeing how just a simple card can have an effect on somebody just because of the way that I interpreted it to them.
It's so crazy.
Especially when I reach strangers. That's always
I do.
wild.
I say the same thing about my practice with crystals. Like when I read strangers and the energy's lining up and you're just, because we're vessels for energy readings. Like it's both of what we do is exactly that.
Reading energy.
I'm just interpreting what I'm seeing and I'm telling you what I feel is happening here and it's lining up with your life.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy feeling.
And that's one thing you may even recognize too, like in interpreting these energies, like sometimes what I'm telling you doesn't even make sense. I don't even know. It makes no sense to me. So saying it out loud, I'm already like, oh God, this is cringy. And when the person is like, oh my God, yes. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Okay. I didn't even know that. Yeah. And it's also weird too, because there's a lot of the times when I do readings, again, people are reaching out to me on like Facebook or something. And I've done a reading for you like this, I think.
I love those kind.
I don't do it with people. Again, we have a conversation back and forth. I ask if there's anything you want me to focus on, and I'll just interpret the cards and I'll do the reading for you.
And I like the way you do that because you like interpret each of the cards and then you give like a summary of like, this is the whole
what
thing.
It means. Yeah. Like when I do this that I do here on the show is just like quick and fun. But when I do a real reading for people, I get into it. Like I'll use multiple decks. I'll use a lot of my Oracle decks to kind of set the tone for the reading. And then I'll use my Rider-Waite deck to get more clarification on those main subjects that may come up.
Yeah. And I know you like clear yourself and like really like get into a place before you do it.
It can be exhausting. I love doing it, but it is one of those things where like, if you ask me for a reading on a Monday, don't expect to get it until the weekend. Cause I need at least I need a plan-free, work-free day to be able to get into that mode and interpret everything and get it all typed up for you. And it's very rewarding, but it is energetically draining.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm also curious too, like there's all these guidebooks and like the little booklets that come with the tarot cards that explain their interpretations and meanings, but I want to know like how you come to your interpretations on the cards. I remember you said you kind of like it just comes to you. So like
it does. So like I think I've again said this in our first episode. I definitely have the ability of clairaudience where I can hear things. Clairaudience is just
it's an
being
extra
able
sense.
to hear beyond the normal frequencies that other people hear.
Facts.
So a lot of times for me, and it's it's probably another clair because it's a feeling and not a hearing, but sometimes it's just a feeling. Like there's times where even I've
claircognizance where you just have a feeling. I have that. We're doing the clairs.
Yeah, we're just gonna call it the clairs.
The clairs.
So those are two of the things that I probably tap into the most when I do it, and it's weird because a lot of times, and I think I've even said it while doing draws on the show, is like it feels like I'm putting a puzzle together.
Yeah.
It's like I just, shuffle the cards, whatever comes out, and then it's putting this puzzle together.
Yeah, because I've noticed you may draw 1, 2, 3, but the way you have to present them to someone's like 2, 3, 1.
Right, exactly.
And because it makes more sense and I enjoy watching you do that because I can kind of see like your gears like, no, I'm feeling like this. And it's cool because I know that it's you, but it's not you. It's something
I'm
beyond
just listening.
You. Yeah, you're just feeling like, no, this feels like it should go here. And then
again, sometimes I say stuff and I'm like, I don't know, this makes sense. It does make sense to me.
It's going to make sense to someone because that's ultimately
meant for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. So I advise anyone who hasn't got a reading from Ashley yet to get one.
Yeah.
Because they are great. They definitely make you feel good. And even if it's some crusty cards, because that happens, I feel like you always still instill some lightness to it.
Yeah.
So You can check her out at A Positive Place and send her a message.
Yes. Send me a message on Facebook. I'd be more than happy to do a reading for you.
I love that. Yeah, they're great. Highly recommended.
Excited.
Well, I guess it's tarot time right now.
It's
time to do a reading.
Okay.
Yes. So we're going to take some breaths. Yes. While she's doing her shuffle thing and letting the universe and spirit come through her to read the energy.
I just saw a weird glitch on the board.
Oh, is it that?
I love it. I don't know. We got the freaking monitor still zooming in on somebody that ain't here.
I'm just going to do one of these in the meantime.
I'm telling you guys, we need to come up with a name for our special guest.
Yeah, help us out. Send us a message and help us name whatever the heck that is.
And if you are an intuitive person and know who or what this may be, I mean, Annie and I are just going off of it's a ghosty because there's just no other explanation.
I usually have things that happen that are unexplainable with technology. Again, I've reached out to our studio and everything, and there's no explanation. I know it could be a sensitive camera, but like, why?
It wasn't doing this before, and we have had other podcasting experience, and we have used this facility before, and it's never done this. Like we've literally been using this since it opened almost, a year ago?
Yeah, like 8 months or so, but still.
And this just started happening.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whatever.
Crazy. Okay, let's take some deep breaths now. We're going to do 3 counts in, 3 counts out, times 3. Starting now. And exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, and one more.
All right.
Yes.
I think this is a message of hope. Somebody is sad as well.
This card always makes me laugh. It just looks like so much regret to me.
It's regrets, yeah.
Like, how did I get all this on my ball?
Yeah, it's crusty, but it's not.
Okay.
Like, I think this is a reminder to people. I really do.
And this is where, like, again, you see the cards, and instead of it having a crusty vibe, like it's cool to know that you're feeling that it's more of a reminder, not like this is their guide.
Again, we have the Nine of Swords. This person looks depressed as hell.
It just looks like they woke up sad.
Like they did. They were like, oh, this is my life. And it is your life. I'm sorry. But you gotta kind of also look for some positive in it. I feel like whoever this message is for is you're going through it. And I genuinely do feel sympathy for you because nobody likes to be in that situation.
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, whatever your situation is, the Justice card for me is like, you know what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You might not want to do it.
But one of them hard truths.
Yeah, it's a hard truth card. I do feel like the Justice card mixed with our sad Nine of Swords is just a reminder of if you're going through it, yes, you're going through it. Acknowledge that. But you do know what you have to do. You might not want to do it. It might be letting something go or someone go, and that's always hard. But if you do that, you will have a 7 of Cups moment, which is like, look,
that looks glorious.
Thank you. You're spoiled for choice on this one. If you can pull the trigger on changing whatever is making you a sad little crying person in your bed, you will have, the universe will bless you. The universe will give you options. Doors will begin to open, and then you pull the trigger is really the main message that I keep hearing. Pull the trigger, get it done, do what you got to do, because it will result in things that you weren't even expecting to happen.
I love that. Do it, people.
Thanks.
I agree. That was good. Yes.
Smack that glitter button. Yeah.
For reals. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Again, tarot is a way for us to connect with ourselves, connect with the divine, and get some guidance in our lives.
Yes.
So thank you so much for listening, and stay spiritual, my friends.
Yes. Woo. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.